It's happening all over America. Forgotten cities, forgotten towns, especially up in the Rust Belt.
All right, Snyder, I appreciate you and the fine work you're doing. Let's lay out from your deep research and their own admissions, the elite fleeing the West, fleeing the big cities, themselves doing all this while they prepare to run for president, Zuckerberg, what's happening in Baltimore, even worse than Chicago in some numbers. Let's break that down.
Yeah, a couple days ago, I wrote an article which went viral on Drudge Report. It was posted on Drudge Report, got a ton of attention about Chicago, the third largest city in America, once one of the greatest cities in the world, has descended into basically becoming a total nightmare because you've got the gangs that are just pouring in. At this point, gang members outnumber the police in Chicago by more than a 12-to-1 margin. And it's thanks to unchecked illegal immigration, the Latin American gangs coming across the border are just pouring into places like Chicago and creating violence like crazy. In fact, just this week, the Chicago police issued an alert telling every member of the Chicago police force about the high-powered weapons that the gangs are using, because they're just not using, little pop guns. They're using automatic weapons in many cases. And so Chicago's totally out of control. So people are leaving. In fact, last year, 2016, Cook County had lost more people through domestic migration than any other county in America because people are getting out. And in one recent year, 2015, 3,000 millionaires left the city of Chicago for other places. So people are fleeing, they're getting out, they don't want to raise their families where there's so much violence, so much crime, where things are completely out of control. But of course, this is not just happening in Chicago, it's happening all over the country. You look at Baltimore, where this horrible drug epidemic, I mean, literally, you can go through Baltimore. I've been to Baltimore many times when I used to live out on the East Coast. You can drive through the bad parts of Baltimore and you'll see bombed out houses everywhere, blackened houses, abandoned buildings. But you'll drive down the street, you'll literally see drug addicts just lying in the street like zombies because it's so bad. And Baltimore, they're on pace for their worst murder rate ever in the history of Baltimore this year is what they're on pace for. So at one time, Baltimore, a real blue collar city, they had shipping, they had industry. It was actually one of the greatest cities in the entire world at one time. But now Baltimore is a rotting, decaying hellhole that is a joke to the rest of the world. But there's Chicago, Baltimore, it's happening all over. Detroit, it's happening all over America. Forgotten cities, forgotten towns, especially up in the Rust Belt, where we see these drugs. Some of these drugs that are coming into some of these communities, they're 100 more times potent than heroin. And we've got this horrible drug. This is especially true in places like West Virginia, in Kentucky, throughout the Appalachians, where the jobs have gone, where the industries have been shut down. Obama, he said he would destroy the coal industry, and he really did that. And so these people are out of work. They maybe can get some work at Walmart, but they're down, they're depressed, they're defeated. That's why so many people voted for Trump in those areas, because they're economically depressed, and so many people are turning to these drugs. And we've got this is a major national crisis, and somebody needs to start addressing.
Let's keep walking through this and where you think this is going.
Yeah, well, where it's going, if we see crime exploding in Chicago, the murder rate increases 60% last year, while the economy is still relatively stable. What's going to happen if we have a major downturn? Because right now, Alex, the number of retail bankruptcies has already surpassed all of last year. And if we continue at the same pace that we're on, we're going to break the all-time yearly record for store closings for retail stores by more than 20%. We're not just going to break the record, we're going to absolutely shatter it. Auto sales are down. The auto industry is in a panic. The people who are defaulting on their auto loans, the highest rate since the last recession. Commercial bankruptcies are increasing at the fastest rate since the last recession. Consumer bankruptcies are increasing at the fastest rate since the last recession. So we've got all these economic red flags going up all around us. Meanwhile, the stock market bubble is just crazy, where, the stock market bubble has been going to all-time record highs, but you've got companies like Twitter, like Netflix, like Tesla, where they never make a profit. In fact, they lose hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter. And yet the stock market says these companies, which are just burning investor cash like crazy, that they're somehow worth tens and tens of billions of dollars. And it's just absolute insanity, lunacy. It's perhaps the greatest stock market bubble of all time. And when it bursts, well, Trump's going to get blamed for it. When the economy was already trending down under Obama in the first quarter, economic growth of about 1%, trending down, and when it keeps going down, Trump's going to get blamed, but it started under Obama. These trends started under Obama, so Obama should get the blame, but Trump's going to get the blame, and we've already got so much anger and frustration and racial tensions being stirred up in our inner cities, and when things start getting really bad and the mainstream media is just pointing it toward Trump for how bad things are, I mean, our cities could just explode in chaos, civil
That's right.
unrest.
We've had a 50-year rot of America. We have brought in giant third world populations that have no history of living in a free country or being upwardly mobile. They're put on welfare. They're made to be liberal. They're made to have chips on their shoulders right away. Drugs are then shipped in for them. Trump is desperately trying to get jobs into the areas, desperately trying to create exuberance, trying to create a good attitude. Everybody knows with the dollar, you name it, it's all about confidence. And then the media is blaming him when he's desperately trying to right the ship. You go to the Detroits, you go to the Baltimores, you go to the Chicagos, you go to the Democrat-run areas. They are literal hellholes of idiocy, homeless people everywhere. Looks like a zombie invasion in Houston. It's now liberal. Texas is going blue. And there's no upwardly mobile. There's hardly even cars driving around. It's crazy. Then you go to libertarian and conservative areas. It's beautiful buildings being built, culture everywhere. People of all races, colors, and creeds that want to be upwardly mobile, doing great. It's about an attitude. And it's like watching the soul being sucked out of these areas. It's just crazy. And then to see them blame Trump, they know what they're doing. They know that they want to have a giant mass of disenfranchised people that will vote to get rid of freedom, to get rid of free market, and then they can socially engineer things the way they want. This is a military, globalist, deindustrialization, destruction of our culture.
Yeah, that's why we need to fight globalism so much, because if you look, every single major city that's been under progressive or liberal democratic leadership for an extended period of time, they're falling apart. You look, even New York City, the number of homeless in New York City has just set a brand new record high. In Los Angeles, homelessness is so out of control that the LA City Council actually asked Governor Jerry Brown to declare a state of emergency in the state of California just because of homelessness. And
we're seeing record numbers leaving New York and California, and then most Californians weren't even Californians. They were folks going there to be famous or looking for a get-rich-quick scheme or whatever, so I want to blame Californians. But the point is, Austin is now a colony of failed people that went to California the last 30 years. They literally don't know why they're losers, but all they know is how to be trendies and followers, so they're trying to pass laws to turn it into California. So they're not even smart enough to climb out of the sewage. Then they try to put themselves back into the sewage with us.
Oh, it's very true. Same thing happening up in this part of the country, Alex. If you go to the grocery store, you go, mix with people at church or different places, and you ask people, where are you from? About half the people are from California up here, where a lot of them come up here, and then they want to change this area to be like California. And we're not realizing that the reason they left California in the first place is because it's become so terrible because of the
Democrats. They show up and they go, why is everything not free in Idaho or Texas? It's because we actually want jobs and money, dummy. You can't have everything free. Look at Venezuela. Go to Venezuela, Californians, if you want a free pot of gold. It doesn't exist, dumbos. It doesn't exist, dumbos. It doesn't exist, jackasses. Stop trying to blow the ship up. God, you people are dumb. I'm talking about our audience. I'm talking to the idiots. We'll be back with your phone calls. Don't be an idiot. Don't support communism. But we elected Bill Clinton. And, of course, Obama, too. Let's expand on that. First caller I'm going to go to, Scott, says, Trump being a globalist, backtracking. I care about results. Trump came out and said, I'm a nationalist, but I'm also a globalist, and that we have a global system, and I will use global systems for America's interest. That's what I said on Inauguration Day. America helped build this whole globalist system for the big global combines. Now, for our own interests, we can use it to empower the United States and actually empower other countries on a two-way street. So Trump's going to have to compromise. I totally got what he meant by saying, because he's a pragmatist, I'm a nationalist. I'm going to do it for American interests, but I'm going to use global systems. Global systems isn't globalism. I think the choice of words would be better saying, you know, I'm a globalist too, because a globalist means world government and they believe in all that and want that system. So I think the choice of words, I care about action. And the establishment's after him for a reason. They know he's real. But we'll get Michael Snyder's take on that and then go to Scott. So, Scott, we'll go to you in a second, but what's your take on Scott's point?
Oh, I completely agree with you, Alex. Donald Trump is a nationalist. He wants to put America first. He said that all along. And so the choice of words may not have been ideal there. I agree with you. But yeah, Donald Trump is the heart of this trend against globalism. But right now, he doesn't have a lot of allies in Washington, D.C. That's why what we need to do, Alex, we need to get a pro-Trump, because if
coalition.
people don't run, we're not going to have a choice. We need to get pro-Trump.
That's it. He should be organizing the Trumpian nationalist movement, the Tea Party 2.0.
Yeah, so let's do it. Let's get a pro-Trump person, someone that lives liberty and freedom, that will support Trump, running for every seat in America, so we actually have a choice. If nobody runs, then we don't have a choice. We're just going to end up with establishment candidates again. Let's challenge every seat in America.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.